When it comes to running video or video type content along with your lighting, how in the world do you keep it all in sync? How do you trigger it at the same time? Hi, I'm David from LearnStageLighting.com, and in this video I want to talk about and show you some of the ways that you can trigger video content from lighting or vice versa. Really, we're talking about the whole shebang here. Okay, but with the focus of, okay, I've got some video that I want to either pixel map or run on a media server to a projector, to a TV display, multiple, whatever. How do I play those back in the middle of a live event? Because ultimately, I don't want to have to, and you don't want to have to, excuse me, you don't want to have to. That's what happens when you get excited. You smack your microphone, but you don't want to have your hands on two control surfaces. You don't want to have to be triggering lighting on one hand and video on the other. We can do better than that. So what's the best way to do it? Well, it really depends on what your end goals are and how you're triggering, but I want to share with you a few common ways to make this happen. More often than not, we're either going to want to get everything in one piece of software or program, or set up a trigger via MIDI or DMX to your other program. Let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of how this might work, okay? Of course, with pixel mapping, say you're using a lighting console that can pixel map like Onyx. I've got it open here, though this is not the file I was in the other day. That's okay. If you're in here, then you've got your pixel mapping on your pixel mapping screen. We've talked about that previously. You can go in here and you've got all your animations and you can play them. And they're going to play out to your pixel map. Same with running your lights. It's all within one software. If you've got a console or a control surface, it's all on the same control surface and you're good to go. Okay, that's the easiest. If you're looking for easy for playback without a lot of back and forth, then doing it all in one program, if you can, if your lighting software can do that, and Onyx is by far not the only lighting software that pixel maps, it's just my favorite, and I think it's great for a lot of people, then, that's going to be your best bet. Let's talk about live triggers, okay? Live triggers are great when you either want to trigger your lighting from another program, if maybe your video needs are more complex than your lighting needs, or vice versa, trigger your video program from your lighting program, okay? So depending on, again, what you're doing, you can trigger lighting from video. For, a quick first example, Onyx has built in the menu here a DMX input function, okay? Menu, DMX in. So you've got a DMX input in Onyx, and you can set that up here. And what that then allows you to do is, if we do playback control, I believe it is, it's been a minute. If you do playback control, it then allows you through DMX from another program to control playbacks in Onyx, okay? Similarly, Onyx can use MIDI triggers as well. So any cue list can go in here. You can go to cue list values. You can add a macro. And you can bring in a MIDI trigger, okay? It'll show you the MIDI coming in. I got to plug my key in because I'm getting the MIDI not licensed, but it doesn't matter. I'm not really using it right now, but we'll at least make that message go away with a key. And so you get your MIDI, you press the button, and now MIDI triggers your lighting changes. And this can work great if you're using like Pro Presenter or Proclaim to run slides. You can trigger your lighting from, or just some of your lighting from those slides and have less or nothing for the lighting operator to do. It could all be done from media, okay? Similarly, if you're using a lighting console and you want to trigger your video playback, there are some really simple ways to do that too, okay? Most lighting software is going to, all lighting software, is going to have DMX output. And most media servers can accept DMX input. So like in the case of Elm, if I go to my settings page, I can just patch it, first of all, in my lighting console in Onyx or whatever else. And then if I go to remote and DMX and I set up an input, it then shows me either basic or extended two different ways to control everything in Elm. And the way that this works with Elm in particular is on this live page, you basically have a channel for choosing this media, you have a channel for choosing this media, the intensity, red, green, blue color, speed, all of these controls that you see here are now being mapped to DMX channels. So you can pre-program all that stuff in your lighting cues, and then during a show, Elm just sits there on a computer and it just runs and it just accepts its triggers from Lighting World. Okay. And that's a great way to run a show. You know, you can crossfade back and forth. You can do all the things that you're able to normally do. But you're triggering it from lighting. It's pre-programmed, or you can even punt it on the fly. You just got to do a little setup, setting up your cues to grab all your different media, and setting up your crossfade as a cue and all that stuff. But it is very doable, okay? So that's another way to trigger. Programs like Resolume and those more traditional media servers that are designed for doing a lot of different screens, those ones typically have a DMX mapping option where you actually manually go in and say, okay, DMX channel 1, you know, you typically send it a whole universe, just reserve that universe for the media server. Channel 1 is this, channel 2 is that, channel 3 is that, channel 4 is that, and you custom assign everything. Then either just use a bunch of dimmers or something similar in your lighting console. And again, you're able to control that, set it up ahead of time, and then during a show, it runs automatically, okay? Another way to control things is, like I mentioned, through a MIDI sort of program, through a music sequencer. So maybe you're using Ableton Live, maybe you're using a Live Tracker, which I have open somewhere here, which I talk about from time to time. And you go out of this program and you add in, like here in Live Tracker, I can add MIDI, I can add either as a full track, or I can do control events. I bring those into my my timeline here. I put them where I want them, and I could send out MIDI control to video, to lighting and video. If my needs are more simple, a lot of these programs, including this one, Live Tracker that I use, it will, you can bring a video into here, and then I've got hanging around a screen somewhere. It disappeared. It's somewhere. I do promise you that. It's behind a window somewhere on my monitors, and you can just full screen that on a display, and then the Live Tracker is actually being a simple media server that's just playing to a single projector or TV or what have you. Okay? And so when it comes down to it, there are a really good variety of ways that you're able to go ahead and trigger either your lighting, your video, or both at the same time from one another or from an external source. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, you've got to find what's going to be best for you and how you like to run your events. Now, if you have any questions, if you want to dive deeper into this, you definitely want to check out Learn Stage Lighting Labs. Inside, we have an action plan called Automatic and Live that walks through exactly this kind of stuff. It shows you, how to automate things, how to connect different programs together, and how to make a great event. So if you are interested in that, check out our info below or on this screen for Learn Stage Lighting Labs, and we will see you in our next video. Thanks.